Welcome back to another episode of Bullyball. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the practice squad moves, some players that got cut to get down to the 53-man roster limit. Big thing that happened this past week, Jimmy Garoppolo restructured his deal and staying with the 49ers. So we'll get into that, break that down a little bit, and then we'll also give a little bit of a preview for week 1 at Chicago. Should be a great game. So let's get into it.
Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, check up on my ear. Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, I'm about to cut the.
Alrighty, as usual, we have me, Alex, and my co-host Joseph. How are you doing in that new studio of yours?
This is not a studio. It is a tiny one-bedroom apartment. So it's not going to be set up with any 49er stuff because that's all shipped to Germany and everything like that. So, getting used to it. But before we start, just want to say thank you to all of our subscribers. We're at 97 right now. All of our shorts have been popping off. So if you haven't, go watch our short videos. And it's our goal to hit 100 before the season, which starts 9-11 against the Bears. It is 9-4 today. So 3 subscribers to go. Help us reach that goal of 100 before the season. And, we're going to start doing collabs with other creators before the games. We got a lot of stuff cooking up. So join us on the journey and let's hop into it.
Yep, like Joseph said, I guess we'll jump to the Bears last, but we're looking at possibly doing a collab with the Bears channel to kind of get some insight on what this year's Bears team looks like, what are some strengths that they have, some weaknesses, and then we'll probably give a prediction for the final score and the outcome of the game. So tune in for that next week. I think we're looking at Saturday to put that video out, so keep your eye out. And then like Joseph said, our short videos have been popping off, so go check out those. We have a Jimmy G airing it out, throwing a bomb. We have Jason Poe laying some guys out, Kinlaw videos, some good shorts. So go check those out. Some good content, some exclusive content. But yeah, I guess we can break down the biggest thing that happened first. Jimmy Garoppolo restructured his deal with the 49ers to stay this year as the backup. There is a no trade clause and a no cut clause, right? Or something like that too.
I don't know. I don't think there's a no cut clause.
No. But that's a big move. Something that a lot of people weren't expecting, especially Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They said it themselves. They weren't expecting to do that. So that's extremely interesting. So like I said, he restructured his deal. So it's a 1-year contract, no trade and no tag clauses. That's what it was. So obviously he won't get franchise tagged, which I don't think we are going to do that anyways. But if let me pull this video up. He was back out on the practice field this week. So that's it was interesting to see. I thought it was kind of weird just to see him as like that second quarterback in the drills and everything, just because, we're not used to seeing that too often. So here's a video of Trey and Jimmy and Purdy getting down at practice, doing some warm-up stretches. So video credit to David Lombardi. So, there's Jimmy there. Supposedly he's been looking good, still rehabbing that arm a little bit, but they said he's going to be good to go. Wearing that coach's band with the plays in it, since he hasn't had a playbook all this whole year up until now. So that's going to kind of bring back those 2017 vibes at the end of the year. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on Jimmy G?
Yeah, so the base salary for Jimmy G's new contract is 6.5 million, which is lower than Trey's. Um, and he can earn up to 16 million total, but that is it has like playing time bonuses. There's one if he plays like a certain amount in like the Super Bowl or something, like some crazy weird bonuses, but I really like the deal, the reworked deal. He is the highest paid backup in the league, but with that said, you trim off a good 10 million even if he earns all of those bonuses. Um, Potentially up to 20 million total, which is what the 49ers needed to do for the contracts they have coming up. And you keep Jimmy G as the backup in case Trey Lance gets hurt. Trey Lance is going to be, he's going to take some lumps, and he's a physical style quarterback. He's going to run the ball a little bit. But more importantly, the O line isn't good. So he's going to take some hits, some unnecessary hits probably. And in case he cannot play, it is good to have the experienced Jimmy Garoppolo behind him that can win big games. And he doesn't have to do it all. We've seen him not have to do it all. He knows how to play that game manager role. I think it's a good deal. There are interesting dynamics that come with that, though, which I'm sure we'll get into. But just looking at it purely based on Jimmy G as a backup, you can't complain.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's deservingly of that, being the highest paid backup because he has taken us to two NFC championship games, a Super Bowl in one of those years. So not a lot of backups have done that. But like you said, it's a lot of interesting dynamics because let's say that we start out kind of similar how we did last year, when those first two games go on like a 3 or 4 game losing streak. Do you think that forces Shanahan's hand to throw Jimmy G back in, or do you think we ride it out with Trey?
I think that that's one of the things is it depends on how it happens. You know what I mean? Trey Lance could be awesome, and we could lose 4 in a row. That's not going to change anything. He could come out and look like Sam Darnold, and then you're like, oh, this guy might not have it. But I think we've seen enough from Trey at this point to know he's gonna he's not gonna really lose you the game. He could make mistakes, but the team is so good and he's so good enough. Like he has that dynamic where he's gonna make a huge play and then he could make a bad play. Jimmy G did that last year, except the huge plays were more of the other players making those happen. Remember back to what was the game? The Titans, where it looked like Jimmy G threw that game. Like he was just we were primed to win that game and he was just it looked like he threw it. Like he had a side bet or something on the
Mm-hmm.
game. But I think obviously the media is gonna stir it up. Oh, Trey Lance throws 2 interceptions. He needs to be benched now. And that's all fine. They're gonna get their views and their likes. But in reality, I do not see Trey Lance getting benched for Jimmy G unless he is injured or it's just absolutely like Jamarcus Russell out there or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you think Trey's going to have a pretty long leash?
Yeah, I don't even think there's a leash on him, to be honest with you, this year. The 49ers, when you look at their offseason, they didn't, it seemed like they kind of built the team for like a rebuilding year, kind of like they didn't go all in. You saw the Eagles this offseason go all in. They traded for hella star players. They did what they had to do. The 49ers let star players walk and didn't replace them with anybody. So I think they set up for kind of like this could be a 8-win year, but we could be better, could be worse. You know what I mean? So I don't think they're too pressed on it.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that because a lot of the media has been tagging the 49ers as Super Bowl hopefuls, at least playoff hopefuls, but I've seen a lot of people saying that their like Super Bowl prediction is the Niners coming out of the NFC. So that's interesting that you say that you think they're looking more like 8 wins or so, maybe
I'm
more,
not
maybe a little
saying
bit
that.
less.
I'm saying that's how they set the team up. Because think back to last year. 49ers probably shouldn't have made the playoffs. They were not they were not a playoff team last year, but then they somehow came back from that 17-0 deficit in the last game of the season. And then they made a magical run to the NFC Championship. That Imagine they didn't come back in that Rams game. Nobody would have any say this year of like, "Oh, he has to win the Super Bowl. Oh, he has to do this." It was a magical run that now made the expectations higher than they should be.
That's interesting. I think I would disagree because I feel like we have picked up a lot of help, mainly in like Charvarius Ward. That was a big one. And then a lot of like the Ray McLeod's obviously not too big of a pickup, but it was something that they liked. Our special teams was awful last year. So we picked up a lot of key guys in that area. But I do agree we did let go of some star guys like Lakin Tomlinson was a big one. DJ Jones, another guy that we let walk. Um, but I
Alex
think just
Mack,
based Alex Mack, yeah. I think just based off the defense though alone is what's kind of propelling these talks of the 49ers to the Super Bowl or at least a contender. Um, because the reports, you still have Bosa, you still have Fred Warner. You added, I don't know, maybe a top 20, 25 corner in the NFL. So that's a huge get. Um, the D line is as deep as it's probably ever been as well. So I feel like the defense is probably what's propelling these talks more than anything, more than Trey Lance, I would say.
I
Um,
agree. I think they kind
but
of did that on purpose. They
yeah,
will make the defense superstar. We'll fix all the weaknesses there, and we won't do much on offense. So then if Trey struggles, we could say, well, we
yeah,
didn't we
kind of
didn't
like
do
an
that we
out.
didn't keep the pro bowlers and the all this stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so all that to say, Jimmy G is back for another year. Everybody thought he was gone. He's back. It was kind of interesting too, listening to his when he talked to the media. It didn't seem like he wanted to be back at all. I don't know if that was just me reading it wrong, but it seemed like this was his. I mean, obviously, it probably was his very last. I mean, I don't know. It To me, it seemed like it was his very last option, like the last thing he wanted to do. What are your thoughts on his media when he talked to the media?
I agree. I think Jimmy's a humble professional guy, so he's fine taking the back seat. But say the Eagles, for example, say Jalen Hurts goes down in week 2, I guarantee you his agent's on the phone calling for the trade. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, the moment any opportunity pops up, I think he's going to try to jump. And I think that's also probably why the 49ers kept Purdy on the roster in case they do trade him during the season. But I think he's content being there right now, but he'll jump at the first opportunity.
yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. So let's move on from Jimmy G. I feel like we've talked about him enough, and I'm sure all the other channels and everything has been talking about Jimmy G. Moving on to the 53-man roster and the practice squad. I know me and you were texting about it. I had a couple questionable moves by the Niners, but overall, I think it was decent. A couple of the things I didn't like was the Niners keeping Purdy for now. I feel like he probably more than likely would have made it back to the practice squad, especially if a guy like Jason Poe made it back. I feel like Brock Purdy definitely could have made it back to the practice squad. So that was one that I thought I would rather have another roster spot for a different position than keeping 3 quarterbacks. So that was one thing. Another one was letting go of Malik Turner. He ended up coming back to the practice squad, which I think was pretty lucky. But I thought he was a great special teams player, especially in this preseason. He was looking phenomenal on special teams, looking elite on special teams. And I thought he probably could have helped out a lot, especially if we went all the way this offseason to address special teams. I think he would have been a huge factor. So maybe he does end up getting a call up later on. I don't know. So that was another one. Keeping Nick Zakel over Jason Poe, I thought was interesting too, because Poe was dominating in those first 2 preseason games. And then I didn't really get to watch the third one. And I know you said that he struggled a little bit more and that Zakel looked better, I guess, in that game, right?
I wouldn't say better than Poe, but I was saying like he improved from what we had seen the previous weeks. He himself looked better.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it was interesting, especially with Jason Poe getting those first team reps with Banks, and then to release him was very interesting to me. But they also said it looks like Zakel's probably going to be playing some center, getting some center reps. Maybe they didn't feel like Poe could play center. I don't know. Maybe that was the reason why they let him walk. Didn't feel he had the guard center versatility. So I thought that was extremely interesting. But Jason Poe did make it back to the practice squad, which was another extremely lucky move. Honestly, I definitely thought he was going to get picked up. And then at the time, we kept, 5 or 6 running backs? I think 5. 5 plus use check would make it 6. But we ended up releasing Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon was your breakout player of the year in our bold predictions. What are your thoughts on the Trey Sermon release?
Yeah, as we've said in the previous weeks, he didn't have it, The last preseason game against the Texans, he showed up a little bit more, but without the roster politics, they did what was right. Mason was better all off season. I'm glad they kept him. Trey Sermon, they wanted him back on the practice squad. He got a chance. I think he's on the Eagles practice squad, right?
Yep. No, I think he's on their 53.
Is he on the 53?
Yeah.
So hopefully he can do well for them. Hasty, same. He's on somebody's team.
Jacksonville.
49ers always have good running backs, so that was my big mistake of the preseason, that take. But I will say, after the Houston game, I did say I would not be surprised if the 49ers kept Zakel on the 53, and they did just that. I think one reason is they do think he's the center of the future, but remember, he also was a tackle in college. So he has that 5-position versatility that the 49ers covet. So I think that's one reason they kept him over Poe. It was upsetting that they let Poe go, and John Lynch was even like, "Oh, we thought someone was going to pick him up." So to us, we're like, "Well, why would you let him go and keep Jalen Moore?" They kept Jalen Moore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Another thing I'd said, I thought if they did release a D lineman, it would be Kamoko Toure, and that's who it was. He is back on the practice squad, which is a good pickup. But I agree, the Malik Turner one was shocking to me. I personally thought he brought more to the receiver room and the team than Ray McLeod. But hey, it is what it is.
What about Jawan Jennings too?
Yeah, we've been saying that all off season though. We knew they were going to keep him though.
Yeah.
But that's just me, That was my most surprising take.
Yeah. It was definitely interesting. Really letting go of Kamoko Toure and keeping Kerry Hyder. I have a problem with that. I get Hyder has the versatility and the he's worked with Chris Kasarik in the past multiple times. Not just on the Niners. I think he was on the Lions with them too or something, I believe, something like
Yeah.
that. But Kerry Hyder just doesn't look like the Hyder that we got in 2020, I believe. He
2020.
just
Yep.
doesn't look like that. He doesn't look like that Kerry Hyder anymore to me. He doesn't really have that pop. You don't see him making plays at all. Kamoko Toure, like we said, you at least see those effort plays, those motor plays. He's running sideline to sideline. He's busting up run plays. He's making those differences. I mean, he's on the practice squad, but practice squad players can get poached if they're not one of the 3 protected players. So somebody could easily sign him. I just don't see it with Kerry Hyder over him.
Yeah.
So that was one I had a problem with. And then also another, I know this was a big shocker to a lot of people, was releasing Dante Johnson, especially with our banged up safety room right now, letting go of Dante Johnson, who has like we said, that 5 position versatility, both outside corners, nickel corner in both safety spots. He has all that versatility to play that, and you let him go, which is interesting. I think he's on the practice. Is he on the practice squad or no?
Yeah, he's on the practice squad.
Made it back to the practice squad, but still, I think you would probably. I thought we would need him on the 53, especially to start the season. With Jimmy Ward going on IR for the first 4 weeks at least the first 4 weeks. A lot of people saying are mid-season, more than likely. So that was another interesting one to me. And then they released Jordan Willis, but he ended up re-signing. And then finally, another one that I had a problem with. Sound like we have a lot of problems with these. But keeping 4 tight ends. That might be my least favorite move that we have, because you have Kittle, Charlie Warner, Ross Dwelly, and now is it Tyler
Croft. Yeah.
Something Croft, yeah.
Yeah,
What are your
Tyler
thoughts on the
Croft.
4 tight ends?
Yeah, that one was shocking to me too. I had been saying all offseason, why are we keeping Charlie Warner? He was injured, hasn't shown anything. I had said to keep Croft over Warner, but then to keep both, it's just excess and unnecessary. The 49ers don't even really utilize 2 tight ends. So it was excess. You could have kept Malik Turner if you let a tight end go, but that was a weird one. And then even though they brought Jordan Willis back on the 53, just letting him go in the first place was insane to me. That dude was destroying tackles all preseason, and he could probably start for a couple teams in the league. So that was very shocking as well.
And one of the better special teams players too. Obviously,
Yeah.
everybody remembers the blocked punt from the Green Bay game, and then in the NFC divisional game or something like that.
Yeah.
Divisional. So yeah, that was extremely, especially after you already let go of Kamoko Toure too. Imagine if they both got picked up or something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that the Niners had an agreement with Jordan Willis before they cut him. They're like, yeah, you're coming back. And then he was like, oh, for sure. I'm not going to sign with anybody else. But still, you know what I mean? Extremely interesting. The D-line depth is supposed to be the biggest factor for the Niners. And then you cut 2 of the better guys, which was, I don't know, is interesting. I mean, I guess it all worked out because all those guys we mentioned are still on the team in one sense or another, whether it's the 53 or the practice squad. So I guess it worked out. Looking at the practice squad, though, as it stands right now, it is Alex Barrett, Tayshaun Gibson Sr., the safety from the Texans, I think he was on last. Pretty good safety. Alfredo Gutierrez, he doesn't count since he's like an international player. Taylor Hawkins, Quantrez Knight, Tay Martin, Marcelino McRae Ball, Jason Poe. Willie Snead was interesting. What do you think about Willie Snead making the practice squad?
They wanted to keep a vet wide receiver. Little interesting to me, to be honest with you. I sent you that video,
Yeah.
that insane drop, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Akeem Spence, defensive lineman. Keaton Sutherland was another interesting one because that dude looked like hot trash. Kamoko Toure, like we mentioned, and Malik Turner as well. Did Justin School, did he not make it back to the practice squad?
No.
Oh, wow. Surprising.
Wait, did
I mean,
he?
it's not on this list that I have right here, but
That
he might
list
have. I don't know.
that list also didn't include the two people from different teams, right?
Yeah, no, because those ones were more recent.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, these guys also made it. Dante Johnson, Donovan West, and then Shagun Alubi. Did he make it back, or I thought he got picked
No,
up by somebody
he went
else?
to a different team. I think the Colts.
Okay. So obviously this list was updated on the 31st, I believe, of August, so it's a little out of date. But then we also signed 40 offensive lineman Leroy Watson from the Falcons. He was a converted tight end, right? Converted tight
Yeah.
end from UTSA. I saw something he ended up playing. He played with Jason Poe at Hutchinson Community College, as well as Spencer Burford at UTSA. So that's interesting.
And then there was a
Doesn't really surprise
linebacker.
me.
There was a
Yeah.
linebacker from somewhere. I forget where.
Buddy Johnson from the Steelers also signed to the practice squad. Yeah. So the Leroy Watson, that guy seems like he fits the profile, an athletic dude. He was playing tight end in college. Now he's offensive lineman, so he's going to be athletic. I don't know anything about Buddy Johnson. Do you?
No.
Yeah. So those are two more. I think we might have another spot or two left, maybe. Possibly not, though. So what do you think about the practice squad?
I didn't know they signed Donovan West. I think that was a good keep. Let him develop at center. Obviously Jason Poe, we thought should have made the 53, so it's good he's still around. Malik Turner, Kamoko Toure, great pickups, and then Marcelino McCrary Ball, I think was a great keep. Looked pretty good in the preseason, and we know the 49ers are somehow like the best team at developing linebackers. They're nobodies for a little bit, and then 1 year out of nowhere they break out. Whether they're undrafted, late round pick, it don't matter. So I think that was a great keep. You wish I would have kept Alubi as well, but he got away.
Tay Martin, I don't know if he was mentioned on that list, but he made it back. A lot of these guys are the guys that we mentioned that we would like to make it to the practice squad, and they made it back, so that was good. Yeah, I'm surprised Kamoko Toure made it back. That's pretty crazy to me. All right, let's move on. So there's the practice squad and the 53-man roster.
I have one more thing with the 53.
Yeah.
So we talked about the release of Trey Sermon, and that's because the 49ers on waivers, they signed, do you know his name?
Oh, the Hans, I think.
Yeah,
Hans,
he's a
something offensive lineman for the Browns.
From the Browns, yes. And 5 teams had put in waiver requests for him. The 49ers, I believe, were like 20-something, 22 on the waiver wire. So 5 playoff teams had put in a waiver request for the guy. 49ers luckily get him. Another O-lineman that has 5 position versatility. Um, he started a lot last year for the Browns, had some ups and downs, but seemed to be a good signing. So, the release of Trey Sermon at least gets you another depth O-line piece that probably will get playing time at some point.
Yeah, so it's Blake Hance from the Browns. Fits the prototypical 49ers O lineman for the most part. He has a 70.3 run blocking grade and a 36.9 pass blocking grade. So take that as you be. Sounds like another Mike McGlinchey, but he does have, like you said, 5 position versatility, which is a huge part. And he has a lot of starting experience, like you said too. I think he started like eight games last year for the Browns. So that's pretty intriguing.
Yeah.
There's some plays, some threads on Twitter of him going against Joey Bosa, and he looked pretty decent. Obviously he lost a few reps, but he did get some wins against Bosa, who's one of the better defensive linemen in the NFL. So that's good. Like you said, might get some playing time every now and again. Anything else about the 53-year practice squad?
Nope, I think that's it. If you guys have any comments, what you think, who should have made it, who should have not made it, let us know.
Yeah. So moving forward, getting into the first week of the NFL season, we're going to Chicago, Soldier Field, play the Bears. Battle of the second-year quarterbacks, Trey Lance versus Justin Fields. Should be a pretty interesting battle. There's going to be a lot of chatter after the game about just those two players. If Justin Fields outplays Trey Lance, then that's going to be a huge thing. If Trey Lance looks way better than Justin Fields, that's going to be a huge thing. If they're both really good, which is also a possibility, that's going to be huge. Give me 2 things you're looking forward to seeing from this game.
That I look forward to seeing or that I expect to see?
Either.
So I expect to see the 49ers maybe throw the ball 10 times. I think they're going to run the ball like playoff mode, Jimmy G playoff mode style. I think Kyle Shanahan is not going to have Trey Lance throw the ball deep at all or anything crazy. I think he's going to be safe for that reason. He don't want that stuff to start coming out. And then also I want to see the D line because supposedly the Chicago O line is terrible. I personally don't know how it is. That's why I look forward to talking to a Bears reporter. But supposedly our defense is supposed to eat this team alive. So I want to see how the defense looks versus the Bears offense. Hello? You good?
I get disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
What were you saying though? Just to get talking about the Bears reporter.
Yeah, because we've heard their O line is terrible. So I just want to see, how our defense fares against this bad offense, supposedly.
Yeah. I expect to see the 49ers defense dominate. I feel like we're going to ride the backs of the defense in this first game at least. Like you said, I expect the defensive line to get a lot of pressure. Maybe you see Mooney Ward get a pick. He didn't get a lot of picks last year. I think this year he'll probably get a few just because of that D-line pressure that you'll be getting from them. So maybe you see Mooney Ward interception, Emmanuel Mosley. I think you're going to see the defense really shine and ball out in this week 1 game for sure. Like you said, you probably will see a lot of running the ball from the 49ers as well. Because the Niners they start out kind of slow. Early season, the Niners have always kind of started out slow. So
That'll
I
be a
think
good
that's what you would
matchup.
expect.
Mooney Ward versus Darnell Mooney, up and coming wide receiver.
Darnell. Yeah. I think they have another pretty good receiver too. Just can't think of his name. I know they don't have a lot of weapons though on offense, which is good. So I'm excited to see it.
Dante Pettis.
The season. Yeah. Dante Pettis. The revenge game of Dante Pettis week 1. But yeah, it's gonna be an exciting game. It's right around the corner, few days out. It's an early window, I'm pretty sure, right? Or is it like a 1:00 game?
Yeah, it's
for
a
you
1 o'clock.
1:00 game. Early game for me because it's on at 7. So that's an early game for me. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Stay tuned. Like Joseph said, we're gonna be trying to get this collab with the Bears reporter next week, probably coming out on Saturday. So tune in for that. If you're still watching and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and please subscribe for us. Like Joseph said earlier, trying to get to that 100 subscribers before the first game. I think we're 3 away right now. So if y'all could help us out and get there, go check out our short videos. Got some great interviews. 49ers legend Randy Cross, current 49ers practice squad player Jason Poe, and former starting cornerback for the Niners, Terrell Brown. So go check those out and leave a like, leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on the 53, the game next week, the Jimmy G situation, whatever it may be. Let us know. Got anything else, Joe?
Yes, and do not forget to tune into our pregame primer. We go live an hour before every football game, so 49er football game. So noon Eastern Standard Time, we'll be live prior to the game.
Yep. Tune in for that. But that's all that we have for you guys this week. And we'll see you next week, like we said, probably on Saturday. So tune in. Peace.
Peace.
Send it back.